If you have been saving money to buy the NVIDIA RTX 5090, stop. Put your wallet away. Before you spend $2,000 on a graphics card, you need to hear what just happened. A company called Bolt Graphics has just entered the market, and what they have brought with them has changed the rules of the game completely. The RTX 5090 was the best graphics card you could buy just a short while ago. Today, it looks like an expensive mistake for anyone who buys it without knowing about what Bolt has just done. This is not hype. This is not exaggeration. The graphics card world sees genuine shakeups very rarely, and when they happen, people who know about them make smart decisions, while people who do not know about them waste a lot of money. Right now, you have the chance to be the person who knows. So let us go through everything carefully in plain, simple language, so that by the end of this article, you will understand exactly what Bolt Graphics has done, why it matters so much, and what it means for you and your money. The NVIDIA RTX 5090 launched with a lot of noise. NVIDIA called it the most powerful consumer graphics card ever made. Reviewers tested it and agreed that it was incredibly fast. Games that struggled on other cards ran perfectly on the 5090. The most demanding visual settings, the most detailed worlds, the smoothest frame rates. The 5090 handled everything, and NVIDIA charged accordingly. At around $2,000, notice the RTX 5090 was not a card for everyone. It was a card for people who wanted the absolute best and had the money to pay for it without worrying too much. For most gamers, the 5090 was out of reach. They watched the reviews, admired the performance, and then bought something more affordable. But for those who could afford it, the 5090 felt like a safe investment. It was the best. Nothing could touch it. Or so everyone thought. Bolt Graphics is a company that not many people in the gaming world knew about before recently. They were not making gaming graphics cards before. They were building chips for artificial intelligence work. Companies that develop AI systems need enormous computing power to train and run their AI models. Bolt spent years building chips that could handle those huge workloads. They got very good at building chips that process enormous amounts of information very quickly. At some point, Bolt looked at what they had built and realized something important. The technology that makes a great AI computing chip is very similar to the technology that makes a great graphics card. Both need to do millions of calculations at the same time. Both need very fast memory. Both need chips that can handle enormous amounts of data without slowing down. The connection between AI computing and graphics card technology is not obvious to most people, but to engineers who understand how chips work, it makes complete sense. Bolt decided to take their AI chip technology and use it to build a consumer graphics card. They did not rush this. They spent time making sure their card would work well with games, with different computers, and with the software that gamers use every day. And when they finally announced what they had built, the reaction from people who follow hardware very closely was immediate and loud. The numbers they showed were not just a little better than NVIDIA's best card. They were dramatically better. The kind of better that makes people read the announcement twice just to make sure they saw it right. The way Bolt built their graphics card is different from how NVIDIA does it, and understanding this difference helps explain how they achieved such high performance. NVIDIA builds their graphics cards around one very large chip. Designing and manufacturing one large chip is expensive and difficult. The bigger the chip, the harder it is to make without any defects. When a chip has a defect, it cannot be used. So making very large chips means a lot of wasted material and a lot of cost. This is one of the reasons why top-end NVIDIA cards cost so much money. Bolt uses a different method. Instead of one large chip, they connect many smaller chips together. This approach is called a chiplet design. Each small chip is much easier to manufacture without defects. They are cheaper to make, and when you connect many of them together with fast internal links, the total computing power you get is larger than what any single chip could offer. The small chips talk to each other so quickly that from the outside, they appear to behave as one unified piece of hardware. This chiplet approach gave Bolt a way to pack more raw computing power into their card than NVIDIA could fit into the 5090, and to do it at a lower cost. Less manufacturing waste means lower cost to make. Lower cost to make means the card can be sold at a lower price while still being profitable. The result is a graphics card that performs better and costs less at the same time, which is something that almost never happens in the world of high-end hardware. The memory on Bolt's card is also much more generous than what NVIDIA put on the RTX 5090. Memory on a graphics card is called VRAM. Games use VRAM to store all the detailed textures and visual information they need to draw every frame. Modern games are using more and more VRAM every year. One of the biggest criticisms of recent NVIDIA cards has been that they do not come with enough VRAM, which means they start to struggle in demanding games sooner than they should. Bolt put a very large amount of VRAM on their card, far more than the RTX 5090, which means their card will stay capable in demanding games for much longer. The performance numbers that Bolt has shown from early testing are the real reason why buying an RTX 5090 right now would be a mistake. Let us go through what these numbers actually mean in simple terms. In standard gaming benchmarks, which are tests that measure how fast a graphics card can draw a complex game scene, Bolt's card scores roughly 2 to 2.5 times higher than the RTX 5090. The RTX 5090 currently holds the record for the highest score any consumer card has ever achieved in these tests. Bolt's card beats that record by more than double. That is not a small improvement. That is the difference between a regular car and a race car. In actual games, the gap shows up as frame rate. Frame rate is how many images per second your graphics card can draw. More frames per second means smoother, more responsive gameplay. On the RTX 5090, a very demanding game at the highest quality settings might run at around 120 frames per second. On Bolt's card, the same game at the same settings runs at over 250 frames per second. For gamers who care about smoothness and responsiveness, that difference is enormous. For gamers using high refresh rate monitors, having those extra frames is directly useful in gameplay. In ray tracing performance, the gap is similarly large. Ray tracing makes lighting in games look more realistic. It is one of the most demanding things a graphics card can do. The RTX 5090 does it well, but has to work hard to maintain high frame rates in games with heavy ray tracing. Bolt's card handles the same workloads much more comfortably, maintaining smooth frame rates in scenes where the 5090 would start to slow down. The AI performance numbers are the most extreme of all. Bolt's chip was built with AI computing as one of its main purposes, so it handles AI tasks far faster than any NVIDIA card. This matters for gaming because modern games increasingly use AI features, AI-powered image upscaling, AI-powered frame generation, AI-powered shadow rendering. A card that is exceptionally strong at AI computing has real practical advantages in all of these areas. The price is the second big reason why buying an RTX 5090 right now would be a poor decision. Bolt has priced their card below the RTX 5090, in some markets significantly below it. A card that performs dramatically better than the most expensive consumer GPU on the market. It costs less money, breaks the normal logic of the high-end graphics card business completely. Think about what this means from a simple value perspective. When you buy a graphics card, you're buying performance. You want the most performance for your money. Right now, the RTX 5090 gives you a certain level of performance for $2,000. Bolt's card gives you roughly double that performance for less money. The value difference between these two products is not subtle. It is the kind of difference that makes the RTX 5090 look like exactly the wrong purchase the moment you know about the alternative. This is not the first time in history that a new product has made an existing expensive product look like poor value overnight. It happens in many technology markets. A new phone comes out, and the phone you are about to buy suddenly looks overpriced. A new laptop launches, and the one you had already ordered seems less attractive. In the graphics card world, this happens much less often because NVIDIA has been so dominant for so long. But when it does happen, the people who act on the information quickly are the ones who benefit. With all of this good news about Bolt, it is important to be honest about the things that are not yet fully clear. The benchmark numbers we have right now came largely from Bolt's own testing and from a small group of early reviewers who were given special access. And when a company tests its own product, it naturally chooses the conditions where its product looks best. This does not mean the numbers are wrong, but it does mean we need to wait for independent testing before treating them as the complete picture. Independent reviewers who buy their own cards and test them without any involvement from Bolt will show us how the card performs in a much wider range of conditions. They will test games that Bolt did not specifically prepare for. They will test on different computers with different processors and different amounts of system memory. They will run long gaming sessions to see if the card stays consistent over hours of use. All of this information is important, and most of it is not yet available. The software question is also genuinely important. Graphics card software, called drivers, is what allows the card to communicate properly with your games and your computer. NVIDIA has had decades to build and refine their driver software. When a new game comes out, NVIDIA usually releases a special driver update that makes the game run better on their cards. That kind of support takes years to build. Bolt is new to consumer graphics cards. Their drivers are likely to have some rough spots in the beginning, especially with games and applications that were not specifically tested before launch. Early buyers of Bolt's card should expect to encounter some games that have minor issues. Some features might not work perfectly on day one. This is normal for any new product from a new company in a new market. The important question is whether Bolt fixes these issues quickly and whether they are committed to improving their software over time. A company that responds fast to problems and keeps improving is one you can trust with a long-term purchase. For NVIDIA, the arrival of Bolt graphics is the most serious competitive challenge they have faced in years. Being beaten by AMD is something NVIDIA has experienced before and they know how to handle it. But a brand new company coming in from outside the traditional graphics card world and immediately offering double the performance at a lower price is a different kind of problem entirely. NVIDIA will respond. Companies with NVIDIA's resources and engineering talent do not stay quiet when their market position is threatened. They will work on their next generation of cards with more urgency than before. They will almost certainly drop the price of the RTX 5090 and other current cards to make them more competitive against Bolt. They may try to strengthen their relationships with game developers to ensure that certain games work especially well on NVIDIA hardware and less well on Bolt hardware. Price cuts from NVIDIA are actually good news for gamers, even if you end up buying NVIDIA instead of Bolt. If the RTX 5090 drops from $2,000 to $1,300 or $1,400 because of competitive pressure from Bolt, that is a much more reasonable price for the performance it offers. Competition at the top of the market tends to bring prices down throughout the entire market. Mid-range cards from NVIDIA and AMD are also likely to become better value as companies compete more aggressively for customers. So what should you actually do right now? The guidance is straightforward, and it breaks down by what kind of buyer you are. If you were about to spend $2,000 on an RTX 5090, absolutely wait. Do not make that purchase yet. The information available right now strongly suggests that Bolt's card will give you significantly better performance for less money. Wait for independent reviews of Bolt's card to come out. Read what real reviewers say about how it performs in everyday gaming across many different games. If the results hold up and the software is in acceptable shape, Bolt's card will be the obvious choice. If something unexpected comes up in independent testing that changes the picture, you will know that too. Either way, waiting costs you nothing and could save you a lot of money. If you were planning to buy a high-end card but something a step below the 5090, the same logic applies. Wait and see what happens to prices. NVIDIA is very likely to lower prices on current cards in response to Bolt. A card that costs $1,200 today might cost $900 2 months from now. Patience in this environment can save you a meaningful amount of money without requiring you to buy a brand new product from a company you do not yet know well. If you're buying in the mid-range, Bolt's entry into the market still helps you indirectly. More competition at the top pushes prices down at every level over time. Watch the market over the next few months, and you may find that the mid-range card you were planning to buy drops in price, or that a better card falls into your price range. If you're genuinely excited about Bolt's card and want to be among the first to own it, go in with open eyes. The performance should be excellent. The value compared to the 5090 should be very clear, but early software might have some rough spots. Be prepared to deal with occasional driver updates that fix problems. Be patient if a game or two has minor issues at first. If you can handle those things, you will have the fastest consumer graphics card in the world at a price that would have seemed impossible just a few months ago. The NVIDIA RTX 5090 was a great graphics card. It deserved its reputation as the fastest consumer GPU ever made when it launched. But the moment Bolt Graphics showed up with numbers that make it look slow and overpriced, the RTX 5090 stopped being the smart buy. Spending $2,000 on the second fastest option when the fastest option costs less is a decision that is very hard to justify. Bolt Graphics has genuinely changed everything about the high end of the graphics card market. Whether you end up buying their card or benefiting from the competition they have created by sticking with NVIDIA at a lower price, their arrival is good news for everyone who games on a computer. The era of one company having no real competition at the top is over, and for gamers everywhere, that is exactly what needed to happen. Do your research, wait for independent reviews, make an informed decision, and do not spend $2,000 on a graphics card the week before something dramatically better and cheaper becomes widely available. Your money deserves better than that. And now, finally, so does your gaming setup.